Today's Maths for Girls Masterclass. Our guest speaker joining us today will tell their career story and experiences around maths, and then we will invite the audience, which is comprised of students who are beaming into this webinar from up and down the country, to ask questions. So just as a way of an introduction, my name is Neelam Jagate and I will be hosting this session today. We hope to support students to make informed decisions about their future by offering career lessons, guidance and tips. And to the audience at home, your audio, video and chat function has been disabled for safeguarding purposes, but you can still interact with us by asking questions using the Q&A function. So please do ask questions. We are also recording the session and it will be featured on our YouTube channel in due course. So sit back and enjoy the webinar and do make some notes as well if you like. First of all, please let me thank Sophie Carr, our guest speaker, for giving us your time today and for agreeing to share your career journey and your life story. And we'll be hearing from you very shortly. And I just want to give the audience at home a little bit of an overview about Maths for Girls. So Maths for Girls project is designed to help us replace the fear factor around maths with enjoyment. And we are hoping to inspire girls to excel at maths and debunk the myth that it's a male subject, because it simply isn't. And we're going to be asking Sophie today to answer some questions. So everyone at home, please enjoy the webinar and do ask questions as well, because obviously the more you ask, the more you will gain. So Sophie, over to you. Thank you again for joining us. How did you start off? And can you tell the students a little bit about your journey? So, what were you doing sort of around sort of college and university? What did you study? And what made you want to choose those subjects? And how did it get to where you are today? So a little bit about your journey, and we're going to give you sort of 7-8 minutes to talk about that. And then we've got some questions as well. So take it away.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm really excited about this. To try and answer all your questions, it starts long before I was 15. I've always loved aeroplanes, always loved them from being absolutely tiny. I used to try and build Lego sets into rockets, but I was at the age when people actually in the year gave you, girls got Lego sets that were houses and they didn't really turn into rockets, and I just loved aeroplanes, don't know why, and I just grew up wanting to play with aeroplanes. So when I got to 15, my favourite subject was physics by a long way. Maths was just sort of a necessity in order to do physics, because what I really wanted to do was build aeroplanes. So when I was looking to go to sixth form college, I chose A levels because I really enjoyed that way of learning and that type of studying, and it really suited me. And I took the very traditional maths, physics, chemistry A levels, because that was, I was told, what you needed to do to go and do engineering at university. And I remember my dad going, you want to do engineering? Yeah, I'm gonna play with airplanes. And he sort of looked at me and went, really? Anything else? I went, well, we could do applied physics. He went, anything else? Because my dad and my mum went to the Royal Art College. So having somebody who wanted to do maths, who wanted to go into a field that was so far away from anything they understood, they just went, oh, okay. But I was absolutely determined. I was not a natural at maths by any stretch of the imagination. I worked really, really hard to pull my maths grade up, to the point when I was in year 9, my maths teacher told my dad that I wouldn't get my GCSE in maths. My dad said, if you want to do engineering, if you really want to do this, you're just going to have to get it better in maths. So I did maths, physics and chemistry A levels. I did not get what most people would be considered to be tip-top grades. I got a B and 2 Cs. But that got me to Bath University at the time. I know it wouldn't these days, but I got to Bath University and I did aeronautical engineering. And literally from the moment I got there, it was like I'd found home, because there wasn't just me, there were 9 other girls on my course, 10 of us. And so I studied aeronautical engineering and I literally had the time of my life. I loved every second of the whole course. I absolutely adored my time there. And then at the end of it, I was thinking what to do, and I realised I wanted to do a master's, because I really liked academic learning and I really liked academic research. So I went on to do a master's of applied maths and fluid mechanics, because very, very quickly on my engineering course, I realised that I can't actually really build anything, but I could do the maths. And that was the first time I think I realised that actually my math skills were probably better than I'd given myself credit for.
Right.
So I did a master's of applied maths and fluid mechanics, and it was just the most joyous fun. It was the hardest I think I ever worked academically. And I finished that, and I needed a job. I really needed a job. I'd been at university for 5 years. I'd had a year in industry as part of my undergraduate degree, and I really needed a job. And so I got one. And at the interview, I said, oh, do you pay for PhDs? And they said, yes, we do. But not many people seem to want to do one while they work. I was like, oh, that's okay. And on my first day of my job, which was working with aeroplanes, I said, I'd really like a PhD. And it was, yeah, well, you just need to find a topic. Okay. So I was really naive and thought, how hard can it be to work full-time and do a PhD part-time? Can't be that hard, can it? And it can't take that long, can it? Well, it's really hard work, and it took 8 years. But I was working as part of a flight trials team, and I became really interested in how people start to miss information, and when do they start to not be able to use all the information that's coming at them. And we see it every day with information overload, it just comes flying in. And I found out that there was these things called Bayesian belief networks, which a while ago now, nobody had really heard of. It was quite an esoteric subject. And overnight, aeroplanes kind of slightly got superseded, or at least matched, by this area of maths, which genuinely nobody knew of. So I did a PhD for 8 years, working full-time, and then halfway through going part-time because I had my eldest child. So I finished my PhD with a toddler and a husband, having set off. Yeah, well, over 8 years, life kind of happens. Wow. So yeah, I did a PhD in Bayesian Networks, and have really then moved after that, moved more and more into maths as that time went on, because my PhD is more statistics based, but up until then I'd really just done applied maths, because that's what engineering is at the end of the day. It's physics and applied maths. After I graduated from my PhD, I was made redundant, and it's certainly also personal. It happened to an awful lot of people in 2008. It was a big economic crash, and I was there, and I'd by this point got 2 children, and my husband said, what are you going to do? And I said, oh, do you know what? I'm going to set up my own business. And he and my dad went, seriously? You're a researcher. You've been in academic and government research. You know nothing about running a business. And I went, oh, it can't be hard, can it? I went, yeah, no, that's actually quite hard as well. But the big driver for me was I desperately wanted to stay in technical work. Mm-hmm. I know lots of lovely women who've gone and had really enjoyable careers halfway through, who've moved into project management or coaching or a vast range of topics. But I was utterly desperate to stay technical, and that was my driving force. And so I set up this small business thinking it would just be for a couple of years and then I'd go back to having a proper job. Anyway, I now employ 2 other women, and we're a small data science company. I think that's what people call it instead of statistics these days. Yeah. And here I am, and I have a job I love. I'm one of these really annoying people. I adore my job. I bounce out of bed. We work on fantastically fun projects, and I do maths every day.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So I've got quite a few questions actually. Okay. I'm gonna go straight into those. But yeah, it's interesting how what I've taken away from there is you had quite a few setbacks. You know, you had, I'm sure there's plenty more as well. And you spoke about, was it in year 9 when your teacher kind of thought you're not going to pass GCSE? Oh, no. And that was, you know, a really big setback. And then obviously being made redundant, but then turning that into something positive and actually thinking, I'm going to go ahead and set up my own business. So to the audience at home, I'd like you just to talk about how do you do that? How do you sort of turn something negative into a positive in the world of business or in school? Perhaps when you are, you know, you don't have that confidence because perhaps someone isn't believing in you at school. And, you know, what is a young person to do in that situation?
So yeah, I think they're quite separate. So if we go to the school one first.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with aeroplanes more than I ever really admitted to anybody at the time. And I know, because there'll be people out there like me who were probably the only girl who would talk about this. And occasionally people would say to me, oh, you're just trying to get attention because you're just saying you're a girl who wants to do this. Girls don't do this. And my advice would be this to myself: if you stick at it, and it's not going to be easy, you're going to get everything you ever dreamt of. And it's going to be so much better than you dare even think it's going to be. But you're going to have to dig in. And it is not going to be easy. And there will be times when you'll be the only one, and there'll be times when it's hard and it's scary. But that's not a reason to stop. Being scared and thinking you don't know it. And I need to put it out here, I am wrong every day. Big time. I get things wrong all the time. But learning that being wrong is just normal, and just hanging on in there, and just don't stop.
Yeah.
Just don't stop.
Keep on going.
Just keep going. You are. There's all, you're everything you need, and sometimes that's really hard to believe. And I've been lucky to have mentors over my life who kept me going. But you really can do it. You really, really can. And I was not a natural mathematician. I'm still not a natural mathematician. It's something I work at, and it's something I enjoy. So I think that's the first thing. And as for business, I think part of the thing of running a business is that you like roller coasters. There are huge highs and there are massive lows, and you have to learn to go with them. And there are times when you're on the top of the world and it's just brilliant, and then there are other times you're sitting there going, and certainly at the moment, because work has changed beyond recognition for everybody in the last 3 months, just going, okay, so what can we do? What we did is no longer there in many ways. So what can we do now? How can we help? What can we offer? And just, it's called pivoting in business, pivot your business to meet the needs. Yeah, okay, well, you've just got to pivot till you're a bit dizzy. And it's just, again, it's finding that way forward of saying, there isn't really, you can stop and you can give up. You can. And I remember very clearly after the birth of my first child, being offered the opportunity to stop my PhD, because not many people work and do a PhD and have a child. And I said, well, what do I say to them in 10 years? Well, Mum was doing a PhD, then I had you and I stopped. Oh no, you can't put that on them. So I went, right, well, we just don't stop.
Get on with it,
yeah, we just get on with it. And it wasn't easy. But yeah, you just kind of got to keep going.
Right. Excellent. Wow. Very inspiring indeed. So did you ever doubt your own ability in maths? Because I know you're saying you've never been a natural mathematician.
No.
And you had to sort of build your confidence around that. But was there a point where you thought, you know what, math is just not for me, and the teacher's right, I'm not going to pass? And was that never
oh yeah,
in your mind?
All the time. And in fact, it still happens. And so at school, I was really considered not that great at maths. I was told time again I wouldn't get my GCSE in maths, and then I was told that I'd never be anything mathsy, even if I did manage to get my GCSE in maths. I got a B at A-level maths. I was all right, but I had to stop my maths work to pull up my physics and chemistry grades, which I genuinely was not that good at all. But even going back, about 2 years ago, I had a real wobble in my ability. Like really, really lost a lot of self-confidence in my ability. It seemed to me that what I was doing wasn't good enough, and I had a few things happen that just really, really made me doubt myself. And then, as happens, there's a mathematician called Dr. Naira Chamberlain, and he's a great mathematician, and he's a really nice chap. And he said to me, why don't you enter a competition called the World's Most Interesting Mathematician? And I said, you no. Because it was everything that terrified me. You have to put stuff out online. You have to get people to vote for you. That's like being picked for a school football team. Oh, I was like, literally everything that terrified me. And he went, no, you really should do it. Now, I need to put in context that he won the competition the year before. And I said, no, this just terrifies me. And my kids turned around and said, but you make us do stuff that scares us all the time. So why aren't you doing it?
Wow.
Okay, so I entered and I won. And at the end of it, I was sitting there going, okay. But I needed that to boost my confidence. So I still worry about my maths abilities every day.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I mean, when I came to know that I'm interviewing you today, in brackets I had written world's most interesting mathematician, and absolutely, you are so interesting, and I think this is what you really are. And I think the audience at home, this. I think especially around young people, and I mean my background is teaching, and I was teaching psychology and sociology, and I remember till now my students being completely afraid of maths, especially statistics in psychology, and just saying, miss that module, I'm gonna fail. And so how can a young person build their confidence in terms of the skills, knowledge, you know, expertise around maths, and what do they need to do? I mean, there's things like tutors and, you know, revision notes and all those kinds of, you know, methods, the well-known methods, but is there a standout method that, you know, you use that worked?
I don't know if there was one standout method. I think what it was more learning about how I learn.
Right.
So I am not that great at just being given a dry formula, a bunch of letters or something on a page. I always have to apply it. I have to kind of see what it does and where it's going. And I think one of the things that's always stood out for me is if I can actually literally see it working. That's probably why I ended up in fluid mechanics and that to begin with, because you literally see it work.
Yeah.
And I think what you need to understand is that people use maths every single day, and you use statistics day in, day out. So people talk about not being able to do ANOVAs or not being able to do some form of statistics, and the big one at the moment is Bayesian statistics, and that's what my PhD was in. And there's lots of talk about combining information and false positive rates and false negative rates, and that's all Bayesian statistics. Let's break it down to something really simple. You do that every time you cross the road. You look left, you look right, you assess the internal probability, you decide if it's safe to cross, and you can do it innately. Statistics is nothing more than putting how you think out there. Okay, you can do that. And then all we have to do is take those letters and start putting in numbers. There is a huge difference between maths and numeracy. Now, to get your GCSEs and to get your A-levels or your BTECs, whatever you're going to do at college, you have to be numerate. You have to be able to manipulate numbers. You know, literally, if you go and spend £8 and you've given a £10 note, how much change do you need? Maths is different. Maths itself is beautiful. It's like an art form, and it moves you. And people sort of look at me a bit funny when I say that, but let's put it this way. When you start to give a single statistic, like 24% of all FTSE board members are women, there's a visceral reaction. Okay, well, you have that with art. So there is a big difference between maths and numeracy. You need to have both. But to get to the way that you can use it, figure out how you learn. Is it a podcast? I love podcasts. I learn really well by listening, and I'm quite a visual learner as well. I'm not terribly good at learning by rote. If I can't do the first of the equation 1 to 20 on page whatever, well, by the time I get to 19, I'm probably not going to be able to do it either. I'm just going to have lots of red marks on my book. So finding other ways to learn have been critical for me.
Right, excellent. So, okay, understanding the best way, but an individual learning method for you. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So do you think university is, now this is controversial, is university important for everyone? And if someone is joining our webinar today thinking, I don't think uni's for me, what would you say to that young person?
Oh, university is not for everybody.
Yeah.
By no stretch of the imagination. It is not for everybody at all, and there is nothing wrong with not going if your career takes you down a different path. Absolutely not at all. There are all sorts of apprenticeships out there. There is lifelong learning. And I think the big thing these days is I've never stopped learning. You can't stop learning. I mean, the 2 coding languages I use now of R and Python weren't around when I went to university. And if I keep it really quiet, this thing called Google came out when I was at university. So you have to keep learning. No, university is not for everybody. I've been really fortunate to do some guest lecturing at Ada College, which was a data visualization and data science apprenticeship course. You don't have to do that. If you want to go and work in data science, if you want to, you don't have to go to university. I always phrase it, and again, people might not agree, but university is an academic apprenticeship. If you love reading, if you love learning in that way, you'll fly. If you don't and you want to go to work, you do not have to go. It's not saying that it's any easier, it's not saying it's any better, but there are different routes that will still get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously this is a Maths4Girls event, where do you think the fear comes from around maths, particularly for young girls? Where does it come from, and what more can we be doing to debunk the fear?
Okay, so I find that hard to answer because I've never really been scared of it. I found it hard. So I find this question really hard to answer. I don't know where they come from, but I do know my daughter started to shut down towards maths much earlier than my son. And I have no idea why that is, because she sees me and we talk a lot about maths and we talk a lot about science, but she started to find it much harder, or see that it was okay maybe to not be good. And I was going, no, it's not okay. I do not know where it comes from. I think one thing as a society that we have is that it's perceived to be okay to not be good at maths. Nobody wants to say that they're not that good at English, but saying, oh no, I can't do maths, that's sort of acceptable, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it
shouldn't be, because everybody needs numeracy and everybody needs maths just to function. And as we move to a much more data-driven society, you know, all the algorithms that do things like your car insurance and your home insurance, all the things that predict what's going to happen to you, you need to be able to understand and work with that. If you want to see that, the One Institution Christmas lectures with Hannah Fry are a brilliant example, you know, absolutely brilliant example of maths in everyday society and how you need to interact with data and statistics. I don't know where the fear comes. What can we do is start from the very start of school and just stop those barriers coming down. But a lot of that will be, I think, encouraging different ways of learning. Again, you know, not everybody learns in the same way. Not everybody. But the ability to do that is much easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you touched on the jobs, sort of the jobs of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how important are STEM subjects, and what skills do you think young people really need today for in order to prepare themselves for the jobs of tomorrow? And what kinds of things are trending right now? And what do you think will in the next 10 years?
Well, at the moment, when we're looking to recruit, we look for three or four key things. Okay, you have to have the math skills. That's what we do. We do data science. You've got to be able to code straight up. If you want to go and work into STEM, you are going to have to be able to code in, currently it would be R, Python. But truthfully, it's probably languages coming up that I don't even know of yet, that in 10 years will be the ones we're all using. You know, there's Databricks and Sparks and Ultrix and all those. So you're going to have to be able to code to some level. Okay. The third thing that I look for is actually creativity, because maths, people think it is just equations on a blackboard, and that's as far away from what we do. You know, we code them up and we make them work, but we see patterns. We genuinely find patterns and we make those colourful on charts and things. But it is an immensely creative subject. So one of the ladies I employ, she's doing a media degree. She's an incredibly creative, artistic person, and she has a way of visualising things that I don't have.
Right.
So you need to keep those skills going. And the fourth thing you need to be able to do, which I know many STEM people find hard, is you have got to be able to write clearly, concisely. So I know it's like a beating drum. You've got to be able to do your spelling, your punctuation, your grammar. I love Grammarly, by the way. You know, it's not my strong point, but you have to be able to communicate. Yeah. So really, you need that broad set of skills that everybody perpetually tells you about at college that you look at. So yes, STEM subjects, absolutely, we need the deep dive analytical, and we need the coding skills, but they have to be paired with an ability to communicate your results. Otherwise, there's no point doing the work. Yeah. And you have to be creative, not in the numbers that you're putting out there, they're always robust, but creative in how we come about those solutions. What techniques can we pull together? How can we make this work?
And where are young people going to obtain these skills?
Okay.
Especially when you're not at the age where you can actually go out and get a job.
No.
Where else can they get them from?
Okay, so there are 1,000,001 online free coding classes. Literally knock your socks off. You Google it, they're there. There are hundreds of them. STEMETS is a big one that runs them specifically for girls.
Was that STEMETS, did you say?
STEMETS, STEMETTES. And currently during lockdown, they've got free events 3 times a week. They're absolutely great. Absolutely great. So you can learn to code all of those different ways. Your communication skills, do you know what? Just hang on in there with your English. You will get better at that. And creativity, it's a million different ways. So my mum, my sister and I all patchwork. Okay, now they're brilliant with colours and they do these amazing shadings and gradings. I can't do it for toffee. However, I can do patchwork patterns that they can't do. I also do cross stitch and things like that. So creativity does not have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be something you necessarily do at class. I didn't do art at GCSE, but there may be a way that you express yourself creatively, whereas that is building things, drawing things, sketching things, and I don't mean it has to be like fine artwork. Just let that side of your brain find a way for its outlet. Dancing, whatever it is.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And you earlier you touched on having a mentor. Do you have a mentor, and when how many mentors do you have if you have a mentor, and what are the benefits of having a mentor, and can young people get a mentor to figure out where they want to
yes go? So I would say I'm here because of a team, and I have just been immensely lucky. I think that every time I've really needed help in life, and that goes right back to being a teenager, and I've asked for help, there's been somebody there to listen. Because sometimes you just need to talk stuff through. Even just vocalizing your concern or your issue often just helps you answer, and the person you're talking to goes, yes, you didn't really need to talk, but you did, because vocalizing those internal bits actually helps you bring some clarity, I think. So absolutely, I would say people need mentors. Now, they don't necessarily have to be called mentors, I think, all the time. At the moment, I would say I've got one very formal mentor through a mentoring program, but I have two who are just far more experienced women than me, who I just love talking to. They're both business owners. One doesn't have a business anymore. She changed career path again. But just say, is that sensible? What do you think? Shall we? And their insights of brutal honesty, I think. Sometimes you need that outside person to go, no, really, that's just not a good idea, Sophie. Goes, okay. But sometimes I go, yeah, right, give it a go. So absolutely, I would say if you can find somebody to talk to, they don't have to be called a mentor. They might be a coach, but somebody to talk to.
And I think mentors, traditionally, as you say, you kind of think of a mentor, someone, potentially a stranger, and who you're trying to develop a bond with or some kind of professional relationship with. But actually, a mentor can be a relative, can be a friend, it can be a teacher, it can be your careers advisor, and so on. So I think that's really, really important. Thank you very much. We've got just a question from Anita Mankani. Is it STEM X? Could you just respell?
So it's STEM, STEM, and then et as in girl, ETTES.
ETTES. Perfect. Thank you very much. So thank you for your lovely discussions and for sharing your story, Sophie. That was really, really useful. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that was a really, really positive and useful learning opportunity for everyone at home. So thank you very much. We are sadly out of time. I think I've got another question coming in.
Okay.
Oh no, they're just saying thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
No problem, Anita. Thank you so much for joining. So we are going to have to end there, but again, thank you for your time. I would like to thank everyone at home as well for joining, and you can watch this back on our YouTube channel, and the rest of our webinars that we've been recording and sort of taking part in over the last couple of weeks are all on our YouTube channel, which is Founders for Schools. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram as well, and please do continue to share the work that we're doing amongst your friends and your family, your colleagues as well. Our next session is tomorrow at 11:30 with Nick Koonsberg. It's slightly different. It's not a Maths4Girls event. It's an interview event. So anyone at home who's thinking of mastering their interview skills, please join tomorrow at 11:30. Just pop onto our website and click the banner at the top, and it'll take you straight to the registration page. And I guess that from home, at home, you will be sent a feedback survey as well. So please do complete those and let us know how we're doing. Thank you again, Sophie, and thank you to everyone at home. Take care and goodbye, and hopefully see you all soon.